Oh, absolutely. I mean, it just got to the point. Initially, it was tough because I wasn't familiar with all those markets. But then after you do them, week after week after week, you get to know the names, you get to know the places, and it's much easier. But you couldn't put all that material in a teleprompter; it would have just been impossible. So I had to ad lib all those. And what we would do is do a card on a legal sized piece of paper, and they would put it in front of a camera, which would be like the teleprompter camera, so it would put it in the lens. So all I would see would be just the card. It would be, the rundown, if it was Hulk and Warrior and Big Boss Man and whatever. It would just that, and I would just get a script going in my head or whatever, and then I would just keep repeating it for each different market, but changing the venue. And then I would have little notes for certain places that I wanted to mention, and we would just roll. And you get into it. After a while, you get into a rhythm of doing it. But I would lose my voice, 3 or 4 times a year because that was an awful lot of talking. And then we would, I'd go to TVs here and there, and then of course we had our pay-per-views, and a lot less than they have now. But it was a pretty busy schedule. But it made me a good, it gave me every single experience you could possibly have in front of a camera. I had studio work, I had, live event work, doing, backstage interviews. We would do live interviews out in front of a crowd, and so, as a broadcaster, you could not have asked for a better training ground to get better and better. And I give Vince McMahon credit. You talk about how tough he was on you. But at the same time, he was never really one of those people that would just get in your face. And I know that they see that persona, but he could be very patient. I mean, really, especially me. When I got there, and if you ever looked at some of the stuff, the early on stuff, I'm like, my God, how in the world did they ever hire me? I look at that stuff and I'm like, who was I yelling at? Howard Finkel was in charge of the event center. He was the one that organized. That was one of his other jobs that he did. He was a ring announcer. And so, his idea and how they sold back then was you projected. Well, here I'm doing these, and I'm looking like, what the heck? So finally, I just told him, first of all, I can't do this, over and over and over. I won't even be able to get through 2 days. And I said, it's just not what I think we need to do to put these over. I want to be the credible news person. When you go back to the event center and I react to all this craziness going on around me, and I'm kind of the stable force, and I want to deliver it like that. And they said, all right, well, we'll see how it goes. And that's when, if you look, I don't know, people watching week after week, you suddenly would have seen, okay, oh, so that's the guy, that was who I was. And from that point on, then I really, had a great time. And to me, it was almost like developing a character, or a persona that really worked, I think, with what they were doing with the event center and being able to react. And that was the same thing I did when I did interviews. I was able to have that same kind of like, what in the world? It's crazy, And Gene had his own way of he conducted interviews, and I had this whole different persona as well when I was